Hello everybody, this is Lynda LeCompte with X10 Archery and with another in our new video series that we're bringing to you. I talked about target panic recently on a kind of bird's eye view, big picture view, and today I'm going to be talking about body awareness or mindfulness in archery or efficiency in archery, and I'm going to tie it all together. So when we talk about body awareness, that is literally being mindful of what every part of your body is doing. And not just in archery, but in everyday life too. For example, how do you stand? So the next time that you're standing on your feet, and in fact, I suggest you go ahead and stand up right now whilst you're listening to this. And pay attention to the weight distribution on your feet. Are they equally balanced from left to right? Do you have full spread of weight distribution on your feet? Are they is the weight distribution slightly more on the outsides of your feet? Is it slightly more to the back, slightly more to the front? Okay, pay attention to it, take a snapshot. You might discover that as soon as you've realized that actually I'm kind of standing off kilter, you automatically fix it. Okay, so that right there is a great example of mind-body awareness, body awareness. So this came to light recently in a lesson that I had with a student just a few days ago, where they were having an issue with when they came to full draw, the hip was kind of kicking out to the side, okay? So they caught themselves doing it and were trying to address it. So what I did, instead of focusing on what her body should be doing at full draw, or even making sure that it's set in the set position, which is what we're supposed to be doing, I went through some exercises of having the student pay attention to what the body is doing at all times. To get into the habit of making that, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, that mind-body connection. You know, your mind recognizing what your body is doing, recognizing what it's feeling, and being in control of it. Because we do things out of habit without realizing that we're doing it. For example, girls will often stand with the weight on one foot, with the weight over on one hip, okay? They don't realize they're doing it. It's become habit, it's become second nature. You've heard me talk about laying down myelin in the neural networks, the substance that gets laid down in the brain when the body is doing something repetitively over and over and over, which makes it easier for you to do that same thing in the future. It becomes second nature, or it's in the subconscious. So if you've been kicking your hip out like that for the longest time, it's going to be a habit that you're going to have to break or retrain with a new habit. So I suggest that everybody who's listening to this, as an archer or anybody else, start paying attention to what your body is doing. When you're walking, do you know, if you stop and think about it right now, if I asked you, how do you walk? Do you put the weight on your toes or on your heels first? I asked somebody recently and they said, oh, on my toes. So I suggested they go and take a walk across the room and come back to me and tell me how they were actually walking. And sure enough, they came back and said, oh, I'm actually putting my heels down first. So there was a little epiphany right there. So every time that person's walking from now on, I can pretty much guarantee that they'll be kind of a little bit focused on what's going on with the feet, in the same way that when we talk about breathing, as soon as you mention breathing, you start kind of paying attention to the breath coming in, and we're paying attention to it, and then it doesn't happen normally. We're going to breathe. This is a common question in archery, is what about my breathing? And especially if it's a new archer, I will say, don't worry, you're going to breathe. We're not going to talk about it, because as soon as you start thinking about breathing, it becomes a thing where you're more focused on it than you are on what you're doing in your shot cycle. So yes, it is a thing that we will cover at some point in the shot cycle when you advance as an archer, but not in the beginning. We just want you to pay attention to the basics of how you're standing, your stance, okay? Even some podium archers I've had conversations with have admitted, you know, there have been times when I didn't realize what was going on with my shot. It was looking different downrange, but somebody pointed out to me that my feet weren't in the same place. So don't take these things for granted. The very first part of the shot cycle is stance. Coming up to the shooting line, setting your feet in the right position that works for you. Weight distribution 50-50 from left to right, 60% forward on the balls of the feet, 40% on the heels, okay? So be mindful of that. Even if you've been shooting for a long time, take a moment just to kind of do that mind-body connection, like, what are my feet doing? You may have taken it for granted for some time, but just go back and double check on it. So other things that we need to pay attention to as an archer, but also for our own biomechanical health as well, is our shoulders is one. How many of you find that you carry anxiety and weight and tension in your shoulders? Spend a lot of time on the computer or you're on the video game, okay? And we tend to hunch our shoulders up, and I'm seeing it more and more recently with, you know, lots of stress from homework or just there's so much going on in the world, and we tend to carry it all up here. When you start paying attention to what's going on here and being in control of it, so dropping those shoulders down into their natural position, it's going to be much, much easier for you to relax. For one, when we're up like this, we're kind of holding on to that tension. Go ahead and drop it out. But in the shot cycle, if your shoulders are not down in the sockets, you're not going to be able to be biomechanically efficient, okay? You're not going to be able to transfer into holding, which is the key part of the national training system to get that alignment that we're looking for to be inside the bow. So pay attention to what your shoulders are doing at all times. When you're driving your car, sat in front of the computer, talking to somebody, just do that little snapshot. What are my feet doing? What are my shoulders doing? What's my posture like? Am I slouched? Am I stood up straight? Okay? Be mindful of it. So what other parts of the shot cycle are tactile and something that we can pay attention to with our mind to make sure that it feels the same? And that's the hook and the grip, okay? So not just the placement of the fingers on the string, and in the NTS steps we say to visually check that the fingers are the same on the string, but also do that little snapshot in your mind. Does it feel the same? The weight distribution of the fingers, okay, and the placement of them, does it feel the same? Same with the grip, making sure that you've got the weight distribution on the ball of your thumb in the exact same place every time in that grip. If it feels slightly off, recognize it and fix it. That's what the set position is for. You're setting everything, your mind, your body, making sure your hips are tucked under, making sure your sternum is down, making sure that your knees are locked, your quads are tight, okay? You're hooking your grip, you're committing yourself to the shot. So in the set position, I don't think we spend enough time to set up our shot. In that set position, it's a beautiful time to really take that Zen breath, bring the heart rate down, because if you're in a tournament, there's a very good probability that your heart rate is up there, the anxiety might be up there a little bit. So in the set position, it's like a beautiful little moment of peace and tranquility before you start with the rest of the shot process, okay? attention to your body, your mind, is it racing? Slow those thoughts. Okay, take that deep breath. Drop the blood pressure, drop the pulse down before you execute the rest of the shot. So the next part where the tactile feeling of the mind-body connection that comes in is the anchor, okay? Does it feel the same? Those knuckles on the jaw under there, okay? It's got to feel the same every time. Don't take it for granted. I've done this as an archer where I'm shooting as a bare bow archer, and I didn't recognize that some shots, the end of my finger tab was touching my lip, and on some shots, my finger was touching my lip. So there was something fundamentally wrong with what I was doing, whether it was where my finger tab was in my hand or how I was anchoring, okay? But I recognized, oh, this wasn't quite the same. So take a snapshot. Does it feel the same? So breathing, as I've said, you will breathe, but be aware of it to where, like they're in that set position. You might find that you're holding your breath because you're tense. You might be a little bit nervous, bit of anxiety, tournament pressure. If you find yourself holding your breath, let it go. Take a good breath in and let it out again, okay? Pay attention to your breathing. And then another body awareness, even though it's the mind, is your reaction after the shot. How did you react after the shot? So pay attention to that too. And we'll talk about in another series, in another video, how to take control of those reactions. Don't worry too much about changing it right now, but just take a snapshot. Was it a good reaction? Was it a happy reaction? Was it a grumbly reaction? Was it a negative reaction? Start paying attention to everything that comes out of here, that comes out of here, that comes out of here, okay? That comes out of here. Start paying attention, because you're in control of all of those things and you can use it to your advantage. So I've talked a lot about the body awareness aspect of it, and I don't think we pay enough attention to what we're feeling, the tactile feeling of what we're doing, how we're standing in the grocery store, at the kitchen sink, how we're driving, what are those shoulders doing, okay? Sat in a chair watching television. You've got your foot tucked up underneath you. You know you're going to get pins and needles when you move it out. Maybe we should sit in a more biomechanically friendly position to begin with, okay? So start paying attention to what your body is telling you. Injury. One of the reasons we have the national training system, the shot cycle from USA Archery, one of the fundamental things about it is that it prevents injury when we execute the shot well with using the NTS steps. How many of you know somebody, or you are somebody who has a shoulder injury as an archer? I have. I've been there, and I know many others who have, and shoot through the pain because they want to get through that tournament. They want to get to that USAT. They want to get to that national shoot, but they're in pain. They're not listening to their body. That's when you're going to start getting into some major problems and surgery. So you can prevent some of those things by starting out with the body awareness of making sure your shoulders are down, recognizing when you're under too much pressure, you're overbowing the bow and you're shaking it even though you're in alignment. Recognize these things. Listen to your body. Don't shoot through pain. Those twinges are there for a reason. Okay? Pay attention. So mind-body awareness. It's your friend. So I hope this was useful to some of you. It's something that I'm I've had a shoulder injury. I've got a knee injury. both of my knees actually, and I have to be super, super careful about how I walk, how I turn, if I try to kneel down, anything that I do, I'm super aware of what's going on in that knee, because the slightest little wrong movement and I could be on crutches again for weeks. I need surgery, I'm trying to avoid it. So I've become much more aware of the body awareness since I've had injury, and I recognize also that it makes a huge difference in the shot as well. Every little nuance, that slight difference of pressure in the bow grip, that slight difference of finger placement, that slight difference of anchor here or here, okay, can make a difference downrange. So start paying attention, okay? I hope you liked this. It's kind of a little out there. That's kind of what I do. If you have any comments, had an epiphany, or something that you think might help somebody who's watching this, talking about body awareness, leave some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe. There will be some more content coming out soon, and I hope to see you all again soon. Take care. Bye bye.